and welcome to Recent Trends in Information Operations and Predictions for 2020. If you're joining us live, our speakers in the Slido chat discussion area answering your questions right now. For audio-video issues, click the technical support button below. I'd now like to turn it over to Yihao Lim for the presentation.
Hi guys, thank you, Breda. Welcome everyone. Very excited for you to be with me today on the topic of information operation trends in 2020. My name is Yihao. I'm from Singapore, and please join me today to learn more about this topic. Right. So, starting from the top, I just want to define information operations. As you can see from here, I will try to explain a little bit on the who, what, where, when, why of information operations. So information operations is basically a form of information attack by different actors. And who is behind this? It will be people with political motivations, political ambitions, some people with observations or wants to make troll comments about incidents or people, or cyber criminals trying to make some money, right? Where do they appear? Typically, this kind of information appear across social media, but right now we see them appearing also on forums and news channels, video sharing websites, or even chat applications. And what is it about? Basically, it is about the distortion or deception of news information in order to promote a certain narrative or to promote certain ideology that is that's not seemingly correct. Right. Last but not least, when did we see the first I/O? It is made famous by the 2016 U.S. presidential elections, where there was alleged Russian interference, and ever since that point, it has stuck around globally. And why is it effective? It is because humans are still unable to identify whether it is true or not, because fact-checking based on information we receive on our mobile phones is still a new concept. People still tend to believe that messages sent from friends and family are real and 100% correct. Right? So where have we seen this before? As you can see from this photo here, it is actually the screenshot of a tabloid. And it actually from the past like 40, 50 years ago, we have already seen tabloid magazines using fake news or exaggerated headlines to get people's attention to buy their magazine or buy their papers. And it has, to a certain extent, been controlled because everybody knows that this kind of magazine is a tabloid, it's a fake magazine, it's just speculation. But right now in social media, it is not so clear to users because it appears out of context, because it could be shared from a trusted person. Hence, the information that's coming from that trusted person would be easily manipulated, and people might think that it is real, as compared to a tabloid magazine where it is already known to be a source of fake news or speculated news or sensationalized news, you see. Right, so now moving on, I want to share a little bit on the implications of information operations. So you can see from here that actually Pizzagate is one of the infamous incidents in 2016 where a man was actually convinced that a pizza restaurant contained a hidden pedophile tracking ring that was allegedly led by Hillary Clinton and her presidential campaign. And this guy took things into his own hands and he tried to shoot up a pizza restaurant. And this is actually information that was coming from websites that was inauthentic or fake, and then further tweeted by people across many nations, Czech Republic, Cyprus, Vietnam, via inauthentic bots. And to this person, these are real people, and he took the information in wrongly. He had a misinterpretation of this, and he went to take action into his own hands. Luckily, no one was hurt in this incident. We also see information operations by the Russians on the US presidential elections in 2016, trying to spoof Black Lives Matters group, and in this case, trying to show the Confederate flag and trying to disseminate negative sentiments in America itself. In Asia, we also see a similar case of this happening, where you can see on the picture of your left, where you can see this screenshots were taken from official Facebook accounts of the Myanmar military. and it was trying to show evidence of conflict in Myanmar's Rakhine state in the 1940s, and how there was negative tensions and hostility between two ethnic groups. But actually, these images were repurposed from Bangladesh War of Independence from Pakistan in 1971. Right, so this is a very clear case of photos being reused by people who have a political agenda behind them. Right, and as we know already, 2016 presidential election was successful, and it caused a big sort of like a backlash across the world. And right now we are seeing more nation states that are adopting information operations in support of their own political ambitions. So out of the normal evil people like Russia, China, or Iran, we are seeing new countries emerging to take control of information space, and especially social media and internet, such as Venezuela, Cuba, Saudi Arabia, and UAE as well. Usually this kind of activity is used just before the election period to influence people's minds and decisions. And they are encouraged by the fact that the 2016 elections prove that this kind of operations can be effective, and people are actually able to push their political ambitions across. Over here, it's interesting because we are seeing heightened awareness about I/O. So right now, the social media platforms, the big ones, Twitter, Facebook, they are aware that these are being misused by actors to further pursue their political ambitions. And because of this, the social media platforms are also doing more to strengthen and secure the platforms by deleting fake pages, fake accounts, leading to a situation where actors now are paying very high attention to their operational security. They're increasingly adopting more elaborate personas to show that it's a real person and not so outrightly fake. But in some cases, the actors are still making mistakes where we are able to catch them, and we're able to identify and see the network of fake activity. And actually, it's interesting right now because we're in the middle of the COVID pandemic, and we are seeing increased I/O activity that is around the COVID situation. To me, it's interesting as a researcher because it shows that actually I/O is no longer just limited to elections. It also can be applied to anything that has political implications. So in terms of this COVID situation right now, it is linked very heavily to how governments are dealing with the pandemic, how governments are solving the problems, putting measures, giving budget help to help people with everyday lives. And a lot of actors are making use of this opportunity to insert fake messages to either steal people social security numbers, credit card numbers, or addresses, PII, or just to spread conspiracy theories about how this virus is made up in the lab and it's deliberately spread around to kill people, that kind of thing. So this is being misused by actors of all sorts at this point. And we think that it will be a growing trend because other future topics of interest that have political implications might have the same impact too. And now diving a little bit into the types of information operations. So there's authentic and there's inauthentic. Under the authentic bracket, you can see from here there are 5 types of information operations. First one is disinformation, where it can be rumors or falsehoods spread to undermine national security, part of state-sponsored campaigns, which could be a coordinated campaign. And there are some that are spread for financial gain, falsehoods that spread for financial gain, websites using very eye-catching headlines, attention-seeking content, controversial to gain traffic to their website, and from there they post advertisements to gain revenue for the founders. We see websites using information campaigns for entertainment, spreading falsehoods in parody or humor, as you can see from the screenshot over there. We also see information that's spread with agenda within the country itself by different political parties with differing interpretation of the facts based on their already ideological bias. Last but not least, we see misinformation that is spread without agenda by everyday people like ourselves, where we receive messages on WhatsApp from our loved ones and then we spread them, we forward them without any political aim. But because of our actions, it will lead to a spread and dissemination of this kind of falsehoods. In the second category, second bucket, we have the inauthentic category where it is very clearly inauthentic profiles, behavior, it's of robots, it's of bot behavior. So you can see from the bottom left-hand screen that profile pictures of people are actually generated by computer called deep fakes, which I'll share a little bit later. Basically, these photos are not of real people. They look like real people, but they are not. And there are certain telltale signs of why they are not real people and they are computer generated. And you can see from the right side where you can, the right side, there's a photograph, a screenshot to show accounts that are seemingly trying to propagate conversations based on a certain hashtag to show that it is going viral. So to the unsuspecting eye, you would think that, hey, this is getting viral. I need to be aware of this, but actually it is still done by the same group who's just spreading and resharing the message or retweeting the message over and over again. Some of the trends that we are seeing in 2020 right now, we are seeing 5 major trends. So let me just highlight the 5 to you right now. First is the amplification of organic content and planting of false content in legitimate channels. Second would be multimedia manipulation and the use of deep fakes. Third would be inauthentic news outlets. Fourth would be the use of public marketing companies to conduct information operations. And the last and not least would be to use information operations by non-state actors. Right now, I'll go into a little bit more deep dive on each of the 5. The first part where we talk about amplification of organic content and planting of false information in legitimate channels, you can see from here there was a organic content. It means content that's created by the actors themselves. So you can see from here, the right side of the screen, there's actually a fabricated communications and correspondence which is appeared to be sent from the Lithuania Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And in this press release itself, it claims that the US would build a military base for storing nuclear weapons in Lithuania. And actually, it led to a lot of problems in that region because it heightened tensions around the Eastern European region. People think that the US is going to have a military presence now. The pro-American, anti-American factions within that country actually had some conflict, right? So this actually, it claims to be from the Lithuanian government, but it's not. And the second example that I have for you, as you can see from the slide, would be this Kuna, which is a Kuwait state-run news agency that was apparently compromised, and it made claims that American forces would be withdrawn from Kuwait immediately. The problem with this kind of statements from news agency would be that it would stabilize or destabilize the immediate situation in the Middle East itself. And as you know, the Middle East is an area of high tensions and a lot of animosity between rival countries or groups or factions. And this kind of information actually led to a certain sort of escalation among the Middle East when it was first released. Inauthentic news outlets, the trend number 2, as you can see from here, that we have seen from the past that, and we think that IO actors will continue to leverage their own inauthentic news sites to produce news articles that are aligned with their political interests. And across 2018, 2019 itself, we have a team in FireEye that investigated, and we are able to find out there are a lot of news sites that are apparently of Iranian origin, that are aimed at audiences globally to spread their narratives that are aligned with the political interests of Iran. And this is not just limited to websites itself, but we are seeing social media presence, including Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Google, YouTube, Tumblr, to spread news articles or give perspective on certain current events that are incorrect. But these are actually biased towards Iranian interests. The third trend we see over here is the use of public relations marketing firms for IO. We have seen that this has been actively and successfully implemented by actors across the world, not just Iran. And as a screenshot, you can see over here, there are different accounts that are seemingly spreading the same message. And we believe the actors are hiring public relations companies to do this because They have a very good understanding on the online influence sphere. And like mentioned just now, 2018, 2019, our team at FireEye investigated and we found a network of news sites that are aimed at audiences globally that are actually of Iranian origin or spreading interests that are aligned to Iran. And further investigation actually led to some findings that, some of the website's registration data were linked to a marketing firm based in India. So basically, actors actually outsource this to certain firms to do it. And interestingly, we have also seen this in Southeast Asia. An open source report by Bellingcat also revealed that some of the information operations that were done in Papua New Guinea by Indonesian government actually has links to Indonesian marketing company as well. Next would be a trend of I/O that is by non-state actors, and by that I mean actors that are not governments itself. So in the period of the 2016 elections, we have seen this website called thebl.com that is very pro-Trump and pro-political material that is support of the right traditional side. And this is a website that actually maintains pages in English, Chinese, Spanish, Portuguese, and Vietnamese. And further investigations into this group and its background and affiliations actually led us to find out that this is linked to the Falun Gong group in China. So Falun Gong is actually a group of people that has been banned in China as a cult since 1999. And we believe they're trying to spread anti-China, anti-Eastern material and ideas they are trying to spread ideas in support of President Trump because they know that President Trump will take a tough stance against China, which will be aligned with what they are trying to do because they are actually being banned by China themselves. Next would be this part about media manipulation and deepfakes. So we access with high confidence that actors will continue to explore this artificial intelligence and deepfake technologies within 2020 itself and beyond. So if we already see people using inauthentic Twitter, Facebook, Instagram accounts, and these are actually being used to support the Cuban government and show that they are critical of the US government. And many of them are using fake photos itself, as you can see from here. And recent research done by University of Washington, shows that actually it is possible to input even audio of the real person. And using a recurrent neural network of mouse synthesis, you can show that his lip is moving to a certain rhythm that almost looks like the person is talking. And hence, with the same voice, same face, and similar authentic looking lip movements, it looks like the person is speaking and saying their message as himself. So this has a very big implication because it can potentially affect a lot of geopolitical tensions and situations globally. When a leader can be made to say something that is controversial, and that might even lead to escalations such as physical confrontations or riots or protests, and leading to a lot of anti-sentiment spreading. At this point, I would like to show you a video that is from Channel News Asia, so enjoy.
Via digital manipulation of video, it can make someone do or say something they didn't in real life. This technology is called deepfake. This is a deepfake.
While it showed inconsistent results, mostly failing on poorly lit or low-resolution photographs, it can be scarily convincing if you feed it the right photographs. This means some of the people who are most vulnerable to deepfake manipulation now are people who post plenty of high-quality images of themselves online.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. So basically want to show you that that snippet over there is that everybody will be affected to a certain extent. So not just political figures, not just prominent people, but everyday people as well. If you have a friend that's angry with you, upset with you, or a jealous boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, they could potentially use your image for a malicious purpose as well, to spread negative sentiments about you. Right, so now we know that there's a big phenomenon going on about information operations, fake news, misinformation, disinformation. I want to share a little bit about the legislations around the world. Right, so government are also aware at this point that people are misusing, actors of different kinds are misusing these information operations for their own gain. And they're actually putting up a lot of laws around them to be controlling that situation right now. And you can see from here, not just the ones that are shown on this slide, but at least 20, 30 countries around the world have already put in similar laws. Because I'm from Singapore, I'll go in a little bit deeper about what Singapore has done towards curbing this kind of information. But you can see from here that European Union, Russia, France, Germany, and Malaysia itself is also putting in laws to control this kind of situation. Just diving in a little bit deeper about the situation in Singapore right now. So Singapore is known for the POFMA law, which is online protection from online falsehoods and manipulation. It's actually supposed to prevent the electronic communication of falsehoods in online platforms, on websites. And why is there a need for POFMA? Because we have seen an increase of fake news and hoaxes that are shared about multiple incidents. So one incident I'm going to share with you here would be the collapse of a roof at Punggol Waterway Terrace. So it's a private apartment in Singapore. And apparently there were some people who shared a photo of this collapsed roof and put it on a website called All Singapore Stuff. And this website is actually not a real news website. It's a private news website that is very viral, and people like to read this website a lot. And hence it got spread to a big group of people in a very short amount of time. And because of this fake incident hoax happening, right, the police, the civil defense, and various agencies were engaged and activated to go on site to fix, because they were expecting mass casualties. However, they arrived on site and realized that there was no such damage done at all. So the government was concerned about this kind of thing reoccurring. That's why they created this piece of law to curb this kind of online behavior. Having said that, right, this is actually a very controversial topic, because some people might think that it's a limitation of freedom of speech. So some of the impact of businesses operating in Singapore would be to be aware of this law. And basically, the first thing you have to do is make sure that your digital content and views and articles are all factual and accurate. Basically, you have some sort of data to back up what you claim. And I would say for businesses who want to operate in Singapore itself, you have also got to be aware of the expectations around freedom of speech, because we are in a little bit different political climate from the Americas. Hence, there's a need to balance this against the geopolitical climate in Singapore. And if there's any need to publish content that is a little bit unsubstantiated, please label it out and call it out and say that it is of my opinion that ABC is happening. And maybe provide context and even opposing views to what some people would say against what you think or what you have created, or the statement that you have made. Last but not least, in the content that you create, you should also try to avoid sensitive topics along the lines of promoting hate, racial tensions, religious problems, social progress themes, inclusivity themes, something like that. Because these are likely to generate negative sentiments in Singapore, and unless you should not try to touch them unless they're absolutely relevant to your line of business. So there's actually a legaladvice.com website that you should refer to if you have such a need that arises. Over here, you can see the next slide of some of the POFMA implementation in Singapore itself. We have seen the government use them against groups that are trying to spread false information about the budget that is being pushed to help people. And we are also seeing them trying to push the law onto opposition parties that are making incorrect claims based on perceived bias based on ideological bias. We also see private companies or private Facebook groups that are calling themselves National Times Singapore, seemingly state-sponsored websites that are showing incorrect posts on social media. So there's already been a lot of implementation of this happening in Singapore itself. So what's next for us? As we know that many countries are now going to perceive information operations as an effective weapon, right? It will also mean one thing. As they know that it is something that can be used to attack them, they will also be likely to use it to attack their rivals, because it's like a double-edged sword, right? Secondly, the COVID-19 situation is also a good indication for us to show that how current affairs can lead to IO campaigns. As long as there's a political implication leading to that current affairs or event, it could be a sporting event as well. We can see actors trying to leverage that situation to generate certain narratives by inserting messages that are trying to point users to a certain direction of their thinking. And this will be only useful and even more effective with the use of deepfake, because they can now impersonate famous people using their original voice and making them look like they're saying it in a video format as well for their further operations. So we think that this will be a continued situation and trend where actors will continually explore the use of AI and deepfake technology throughout 2020 and beyond. Here are some of the references that I've made that I've used when I was making the deck, and I want to thank the people behind this. Some of the stuff that you have learned, this is the apply slide. After this session, ideally, you should be able to be more skeptical about what you see online now, and always remember to cross-reference, meaning you cross-reference what you see on Facebook with a legitimate government source to make sure the information is consistent. And only with that happening, then you should try to trust what you read. But even in having said that, right, sometimes websites can be compromised, like what you see in the Kuwait News Agency, to share information that's incorrect. So even that, you have to be a little bit skeptical, take a little bit of salt with what you see online. And in a 3 and 6 months period, hopefully you'll be able to educate friends on the potential dangers and implications of information operations. And if you receive information from your friends in terms of from your personal WhatsApp groups or Telegram groups, you'll be able to decipher them and tell friends that it's not working correctly. Right? So if it's within 6 months, if you forget about what was said, you can just go back to my slides again. Right, and that's all I have for you today. If you have any questions, please refer to Slido and I will be there to answer your questions. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.